Hello everyone, so I'm back with a new video. So this is our part 3 of unit 1. So in this video we will discuss about the new museology and how museums have adopted this contemporary approach. So video पे लास्ट तक बने रहिएगा. वीडियो पसंद आती है तो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करना बिल्कुल मत भूलना. So let's start this video without wasting our time. So introduction to the new museology. So new museology basically a contemporary approach है to museum practices. Basically it emerged in the late 20th century as a response to the changing societal attitudes and expectations towards the museum, because with changing time people का जो attitude था towards the museum that also got changed. So to stand on that expectation इस approach को museums में लागू किया गया. They followed this approach to stand the changing societal attitudes and expectations of the people towards the museum. So unlike traditional museology जो basically focus करती थी on the presentation and display of the artifacts in a detached and authoritative manner. Detached बोले तो उनका वो बस focus करती थी कि यार display कर देना है, इसको इस तरीके से present करना है, but वो कुछ भी concept या inclusivity या फिर participatory approach offer नहीं करती so that जो public है वो उस artifact से उसके background से interact कर पाए. They basically used to present things in a detached manner. But जो new museology है इसका approach काफ़ी डिफरेंट है. इसने अपने अंदर पार्टिसिपेटरी, इंक्लूसिव, सोशली इंगेजिंग अप्रोच रखा है टुवर्ड्स द म्यूजियम वर्क, सो दैट जो भी पब्लिक या फिर जो भी ऑडियंस है दे कैन इंगेज विद द आर्टिफैक्ट्स एंड दे कैन इंगेज विद इन द म्यूजियम वर्क और वो क्रिटिकली एग्जामिन भी कर पाएँ. सो देयर आर सेवरल फीचर्स ऑफर्ड बाय द न्यू म्यूजियोलॉजी. बेसिकली ये सारे अप्रोचेज है जो न्यू म्यूजियोलॉजी के अंदर आते हैं. सो फर्स्ट इज़ द पार्टिसिपेटरी अप्रोच. सो न्यू म्यूजियोलॉजी जो है वो ये रिकॉग्नाइज करता है कि जो विजिटर्स आए वो अपना खुद का नॉलेज, एक्सपीरियंस और पर्सपेक्टिव लेके आए म्यूजियम, और वो इंटरेक्टिव एग्जीबिशन और प्रोग्राम भी रन करते हैं सो दैट दे कैन इंकरेज द एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ द पब्लिक. दिस कुड इन्वॉल्व द हैंड्स ऑन एक्टिविटीज, डिजिटल इंस्टॉलेशन, participatory art projects where visitor can contribute their own creations. So basically उनका main मकसद होता है to involve visitors in the learning process because they basically want to engage the audience with the museum work, because they believe that they can create a more meaningful and memorable experience by involving the visitors or the participants in the learning process. Next feature is contextualization. So contextualization is basically about providing the necessary background information. बेसिकली इट मीन्स दैट जो भी आर्टिफैक्ट्स रखे हुए हैं या फिर जो भी एग्जीबिशन के लिए जो भी डिस्प्ले में रखा हुआ है ऑब्जेक्ट्स, सो बेसिकली ऑडियंस को उससे रिलेटेड इन्फॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड करना, वेदर इट इज हिस्टोरिकल, सोशल और कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ताकि जो विजिटर्स हैं वो उससे कनेक्शंस बना पाए और उसका डीपर मीनिंग वो समझ पाए. फॉर एग्जांपल देख लो, लाइक रादर दैन कोई अगर एनिशेंट आर्टिफैक्ट्स वो डिस्प्ले कर रहे हैं तो म्यूजियम का फोकस होना चाहिए कि वो उसका हिस्टोरिकल, सोशल, पॉलिटिकल ये सब बैकग्राउंड दे, ताकि जो विजिटर है वो उससे इंटरेक्ट कर पाए और प्रेजेंट डे में उसका क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है और पास्ट में वो कैसे इवॉल्व किया है वो उससे वो कनेक्शन बना पाए और मोर इंटरेक्टिव वे में उसका डीपर मीनिंग वो समझ पाए. Next important feature of new museology is inclusivity. So inclusivity is a central tenet of new museology. Basically, inclusivity, this approach focuses on representing diverse perspectives and voices within the museum spaces. It adopts this approach by including inclusivity by telling stories that reflect the experiences of a wide range of communities, mostly who are marginalized groups or communities, so that they can reach to a wider range of audience. So basically they involve the contribution of women, indigenous people, immigrants, LGBTQ plus individuals and other marginalized groups. They tell their story and try to involve a large number of participants. By embracing diversity and inclusivity, museum can create a more welcoming and accessible spaces for all the visitors. Next important feature is collaboration. So collaboration is essential in new museology, both within the museum and with external partners. Museum collaborate with community, organizations, artists, scholars and other stakeholders to develop exhibit programs that reflect diverse perspective and interest. So another important feature is collaboration. जो new museology है उसमें collaborative approach रखा जाता है so that they can collaborate with the community, organization, artists, scholars and different programs, ताकि different और diverse perspective और interest को reflect किया जा सके in the museum work. So this collaboration approach ensures that the museum remain relevant and responsive to the need and interest of their communities. Another important approach is the critical engagement. So, new museology encourages visitors to critically engage because they ask the visitors to come with their experience, knowledge, and perspective, and then they critically examine the museum work. So, challenging the traditional narratives and fostering dialogues and debates. Museum provides opportunity for the visitors to ask questions, express their opinion, and explore different point of view. Why they do so? Because this can lead to a deeper understanding of complex issues and a more active form of learning. Then further it is given the example of the Indian Museum in Kolkata, that how it adopted the principles of new museology and how it provided the inclusive, participatory and collaborative spaces for the public. So let's see this, that how it is following or exemplifies these principles of new museology. So firstly, the Indian Museum has introduced interactive exhibits that allows visitor to engage with the artifacts in hand-on ways. For example, instead of merely viewing sculptures or artifacts behind glass, visitors can participate in activities such as pottery making workshop, textile weaving demonstrations, and interactive digital installations that bring historical scenes to life. So it firstly adopts the participatory approach, that it installs digital installations, hand-on activities, organize various interactive programs and workshops so that the participants can engage. Instead of just looking the artifacts behind the glass, they can involved in the participatory approach and can learn things in a more engaging way. Museums regularly host community events, workshops, and outreach programs that invite local residents to actively participate in the museum activity. So museum जो है वो regularly host करते रहता है community events, workshops, outreach programs, interactive sessions, so that जितने भी local residents हैं, they can actively participate in the museum activities. Second approach is the exhibits at the Indian Museum are designed to provide visitors with the necessary historical, social. So basically, secondly, it conceptualizes things that the visitors can relate the historical, social, and political background of the artifacts that are being displayed. So they can connect more and they can evaluate the situation that was in the past and to the present time. The museum emphasizes the connection between past and present, highlighting how historical events, traditions, and cultural practices continue to shape contemporary life in India. That is what I said. And also ये जो आपका conceptualization वाला ये जो approach है, it helps visitor to understand the relevance and of the museum's collection to their own life and experience. So they can relate it with their own life and experiences and can engage with the artifacts and in the museum work. Another important feature that is adopted by the Indian Museum is they strive to pose inclusivity. So basically they drive to represent the diverse perspective and voices within its exhibits and programs. So they do so by implementing various things like they ensure the initiative that exhibits and facilities are accessible to the visitors of all ages. Museum have implemented accessibility initiative. They have taken accessibility initiative to ensure कि जितने भी exhibits या जो भी facilities है वो सारे visitors को available हो of all the ages and abilities. उसमें कोई भी उनको discrimination या कुछ भी face ना करना पड़े. तो ये क्या क्या इंक्लूड करता है? दे प्रोवाइड व्हील चेयर रैम्प्स, टैक्टाइल एग्जिबिट्स फॉर विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड विजिटर्स एंड ऑडियो गाइड्स इन मल्टीपल लैंग्वेजेस सो दैट दे कैन फील दैट इंक्लूसिविटी और वो अच्छी तरीके से इंगेज कर पाए विद द म्यूजियम वर्क. Another important function is collaboration. So Indian Museum जो है वो collaborate करता है with the local communities, artists, scholars, cultural organizations ताकि वो develop कर सके exhibits और program to reflect the diverse interest and needs of the diverse audience ताकि वो सबके needs, point of view, perspective, voices को represent कर सकें. These collaborations help the museum to remain relevant and responsive to the cultural dynamics of the region. म्यूजियम सिर्फ लोकल कम्युनिटीज़ तक ही कोलैबोरेशन नहीं करता बट म्यूजियम्स ऑल्सो एंगेज इन इंटरनेशनल कोलैबोरेशन. इंटरनेशनल कोलैबोरेशंस भी होता है विद अदर म्यूजियम्स एंड कल्चरल इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड इन दैट दे ट्राई टू एंगेज इन एक्सचेंजिंग नॉलेज, एक्सपर्टाइज एंड आर्टिफैक्ट्स. Another important principle of new museology that the Indian Museum is following, that they are providing the critical engagement approach to their audience so that the exhibits at the Indian Museum can often present multiple perspectives of the historical events. They can even ask multiple questions, raise their voice, and they can put their viewpoints. So this approach basically encourages the visitors to think critically about the narrative presented in the museum and to engage with the complexity of the history and culture. So conclusion is that that overall Indian Museum जो कि कोलकाता में है serves as a prime example of how museum can adopt the principles of new museology. It is very perfectly showing the example that how it is following the principles of new museology to create a dynamic, inclusive, engaging space for learning, collaboration and cultural exchange. So basically this is the main function of the new museology. It is the main feature that it provides dynamic, inclusive, engaging space ताकि learning, exploration और cultural exchange काफ़ी आसानी से और काफ़ी easy तरीके से हो सके. Through these approaches, the museum has transformed to a vibrant cultural institution that reflects the rich diversity of India's heritage and fosters a dialogue and understanding among its visitors. So basically it is representing the diverse culture, the diverse perspective, the diverse voices of its visitors.